Morning, everyone. The next item on the agenda is Council and Commission statements, action plan for the automotive industry. I will start by giving the floor for the Council, Minister for the European Union, Adam SZŁAPKA.
Thank you very much, Madam President, Mr. Commissioner, honorable members. Thank you for inviting me to address the plenary today to discuss the automotive industry in the EU shortly after the presentation of the Commission's Industrial Action Plan for the European automotive sector. This shows how important the automotive sector is for the EU economy, as I would like to underline that competitiveness and simplification is a top priority of Polish presidency. Let us simply remind ourselves that the automotive industry supports over 30 million direct and indirect jobs in the European Union and contributes approximately €1 trillion to our GDP. But the EU automotive sector is currently facing significant challenges, including rapid technological advancement and intensifying global competition. Urgent action is needed to safeguard the industry's future and ensure its continued growth and success within the EU. This is why we should look at the new action plan in the context of other recent proposals from the Commission, namely the Clean Industrial Deal and the Competitiveness Compass. When presenting new comprehensive plans that will impact a specific industrial sector, it is important that the views and the concerns of that sector are heard. That is why we welcome the direct contribution to the action plan from stakeholders of the automotive sector, including industry leaders. The Council has yet to examine the action plan and its various proposed actions. Today, the Commission will present it at the Compet Council meeting, and then work will start at technical level in the Council. I would like, however, to make a few preliminary remarks. The regulation on CO2 emission performance standards for cars and vans is a key piece of legislation for the industry. In the light of slower than expected uptake of battery electric vehicles and following calls from industry, the Commission has now announced the targeted amendment of this legislation to allow car manufacturers more flexibility. We understand that the proposal will be tabled soon. The Presidency will treat this proposal swiftly and as a matter of priority. We count on the Parliament to do the same. It is essential to provide the industry with certainty without any delay. In parallel, the Commission states that it will advance the review of the regulatory originally due to 2026. This review must be, as foreseen in the regulatory itself, comprehensive and holistic. It should strike a balance between decarbonization targets and the needs to boost innovation and competitiveness of the European automotive industry. The action plan also addresses many other important challenges for the sector: autonomous driving, batteries, decarbonization of corporate fleets, charging infrastructure, skills, level playing field, to name just a few. But as always, the devil will be in the details. Therefore, we are looking forward to receiving more details on all the planned measures from the Commission, preferably sooner rather than later. More details on the expected timelines of the initiative list in the action plan would be also very welcome. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you very much, Minister SZŁAPKA. And now, for the Commission, I give the floor to Apostolos TZITZIKOSTAS.
Thank you, Madam President. Honourable members, the Commission very much welcomes this opportunity to present to the Parliament the Industrial Action Plan for the automotive sector which was adopted on the 5th of March. It is a plan to keep Europe's car makers, suppliers, and related service sectors innovative, competitive, and firmly anchored in Europe. And of course, it's a plan of which I'm very proud. The automotive industry contributes today 7% of the EU GDP and employs around 14 million people, directly and indirectly. But it's not just about figures. The automotive industry is part of our history and a source of pride. Today, however, supply chain risks, energy costs, staff shortages, protectionism, and over-reliance on imported supplies are taking their toll. Our companies are falling behind on strategic technologies like batteries, software, and autonomous driving. Now, before putting pen to paper for this action plan, I spoke extensively with the industry, with manufacturers, suppliers, and many more. I listened to their concerns and their proposals, and the resulting action plan actually introduces flagship initiatives in 5 game-changing areas: innovation and digitalization, clean mobility, competitiveness, and the supply chain resilience, skills, and a level playing field in the sector. We already have the finance to turn ambition into reality. Up to 50 billion euros under InvestEU for clean tech and clean mobility, 1.8 billion euros from the Innovation Fund for battery manufacturing, 1 billion euro from Horizon Europe for connected and autonomous vehicles and batteries, 570 million euros under the Alternative Fuels Infrastructure Facility for charging points, with a focus on trucks, funding for skills and development, including 90 million euros from Erasmus Plus for training, and, of course, additional funding for SMEs. Now, starting with innovation and digitalization, we urgently need to regain our leadership in AI-powered, connected, and automated vehicles, including the in-car experience. And legislation must keep up. No country in the EU today has a complete rule book for autonomous vehicles use, but China and the US are ahead with on-road testing and commercial operators. So now it is the time to draw on one of our biggest strengths, the single market. We need to gradually harmonize EU legislation on driverless vehicles. Large-scale cross-border test beds will help us understand traffic implications, and a European Connected and Autonomous Vehicle Alliance will target cutting-edge solutions. Now, moving on to clean mobility, Europe's emission standards for new cars and vans provide long-term certainty for investors, so they remain. But we must also be pragmatic. Instead of annual compliance, we propose giving companies 3 years, 25, 26, 27 combined, to comply with the targets. We will present a focused amendment on this, and I would urge you, honourable members, to approve it without any delay, for the benefit of our automotive industry, because this is not the moment, and I want to stress that, to reopen discussions on the broader legislation. We will, however, have the chance to start the review of this legislation the second half of 2025 instead of 2026. Now, in the meantime, electric vehicles already account for 15% of EU sales. To grow that, we need to boost demand, starting with corporate fleets. They currently account for 60% of EU car registrations. Their mileage is higher, and they enter the second-hand market faster than private vehicles, making them an important market segment. While we work on the legislative proposal, we have shared national success stories. We are also encouraging social leasing schemes for lower-income citizens and faster installation of charging points. Both are crucial because mobility is a right, no matter where you live or what your income is. Now, I said it during my hearing, and once again I want to emphasize that no one should be left behind in this transition to cleaner mobility. Now, for charging points, soon we will publish recommendations on shortening the grid connection waiting time, and we are looking into whether this should become mandatory for member states. We need to consider the entire process as a top priority so that permits can be approved faster. Let me now move to competitiveness and supply chain resilience, and in particular, batteries. They account for 30 to 40% of a typical electric car's value and drive both jobs and economic competition in Europe. Now, to compete, we need to develop a resilient battery production inside the EU, which contributes to the long-term competitiveness of the industry. We are also considering European content requirements for batteries and components that are sold here. We must never forget, however, honourable members, the social dimension. Changes to global demand and production, economic shocks, geopolitical changes, and uncertainties have closed automotive plants all across Europe. Meanwhile, our workforce is aging, so we need to train and attract workers with the skills of a digital future. A European Fair Transition Observatory will track employment trends across the automotive value chain, predicting threats and planning targeted support in advance. And we want to update the European Globalization Adjustment Fund for displaced workers so that it supports companies restructuring, reducing the risk of layoffs. Let me conclude with the fifth pillar, Madam President, the international business environment. Foreign investment in the EU automotive sector need to contribute to the industry's long-term competitiveness. And we are looking into measures to make sure that this is the case. At the same time, we will continue to pursue free trade agreements and international partnerships for enlarged market access and, of course, for critical materials. This is how the EU will ensure a level playing field, and these actions, together with many others that are outlined in the action plan, will ensure that the next generation of vehicles is not just made in Europe, but innovated in Europe, powered by European technology, and built on European values. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your views.